All right, so this is episode 2 of what we're still calling the ZoomCast. I am joined today by a good personal friend of mine, Kroesch, who happens to be head coach at Mission Hills, as well as an assistant coach at Palomar. If you don't know, a lot of sustained success since he's been there. I think we confirmed this is year 12.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so this is year 12 at Mission Hills, and I know we're coming off very impressive 7 straight CIF championships. And then I think we were debating whether this was 8 or 9 at Palomar.
Going into my 9th.
Okay, so year 9 at Palomar.
Right.
All right, so before we get started, I want to start with before we get started, I want to start with how the first time I met you, because it's always been a funny story to me. I was a first-year assistant coach at Horizon, and I hadn't heard anything about you. I mean, I knew you guys were good. I had seen you guys in some fall league stuff up until that point, and everybody had been telling me. You got to remember, I was new to San Diego. Everybody had been telling me how good Kayla was. And to be honest, the first time I saw her, I was like, she's a solid player. No big deal. And then we played you, and we jumped on you guys. I mean, jumped on you. So I'm thinking, this is going to be pretty easy. Come down here to San Diego, win some games. And before I know it, the tide shifted quickly, and you guys jumped on us, ended up winning. And I always mess with my daughter because she gave up a 4-point play to Madison Adams. Kind of sealed the game for you guys. So tell me what you remember about that game?
Now, I remember that game. So I remember the funniest thing is we got my fans got a warning. My fans get a little bit unruly at times. And I remember I called timeout, and I yelled at my fans to either stop talking or leave the gym because they're about to tee us up. Larry was the referee in that game, and every time I see him, I always remind him of that. But we were down big. You guys had Dejanay and Sarah Porter and all them, I remember. And we came back. It was a great game. We came back. I remember the play that I think that we hit the 4-point play on was Red Fist, which is like a staple of ours, and it was big time. We came back and won. But I remember that game vividly. So shout out to Marvin Quails. That's the first time I met my guy Marvin that day too. Oh, Marvin, he moved to Nashville.
He was on full display with his fanhood that day. That was my first experience.
He's still young Marvin. That guy, he's the man. He's at every game. For those that were at games back then, you saw him front row, usually sitting with the opponent, the opponent's fans.
Exactly.
And just riled up a little bit.
Extra annoying. Super fan Marvin Quails. Let's start off with just kind of how your basketball journey started. How did you start as a player? When did you first get introduced to the game? Just, how did it all start for you?
Yeah, I grew up playing baseball. Actually, was my first sport. Grew up down in Serra Mesa area, and a lot of people where I grew up played basketball. And so I kind of, naturally fell into it with a lot of my buddies were playing. And I just grew from there. And I ended up going to Mission Bay High School. For my first 2 years, I played for Coach Turner and Coach Seaman. I played over there for 2 years. I was supposed to go to Kearney High School, but we ended up getting, a couple of my buddies got bused over to Mission Bay. Loved my time there. And then I transferred to San Marcos my junior year because I had to move with my dad because my mom got a job and she had to do some training up in Sacramento for a year. So I moved up with my dad and moved to San Marcos and graduated San Marcos High School in 1997. Played there for 2 years, and then I went further after that. But yes, that's where it was.
So you ended up playing college basketball in my hometown. Talk about how the college playing experience was for you.
Well, I was a Palomar Comet first. I went to JC first, which was the best decision I ever made. Played 2 years at Palomar. Played for Coach Watson, who's now the LA Valley head coach, and Coach O'Neill, who's currently the head coach over at Palomar. And it's a funny story. Coach O'Neill is still there, and I talked to him, quite a bit, being that I'm over there on the women's side. And I think there's 7 coaches or 7 players from that team that are head coaches in high school now. We have Dante Carey at San Marcos, Chris Federle over at Orange Mound on the boys' side, Ryan Meyer, who was at La Jolla Country Day, now he's at Mount Miguel, Anthony Bolton, who's at Vista head coach, myself, and there's a couple other guys I'm missing. Patrick Freeman, who's my head assistant, my associate head coach at Palomar as well. And so it was a great time. I loved it. Moved up to San Francisco, loved the Bay Area. I think I'd appreciate it more now being that I'm a little bit older, obviously, than I did then. Different. Obviously, the Bay Area is different than it is down here, but I loved it. I had a great time.
So we always talk about, like, I don't, a lot of this stuff isn't scripted. Just like to keep it conversational. So we may jump around, but I want to come back to something you said about playing junior college ball.
Yeah.
You said it was one of the best decisions you made. I totally agree. Again, we'll probably be able to, before we're all done, we'll probably make a drinking game by how many times I mentioned my daughter. So I'm already preparing myself for it. But full disclosure. This is the bias warning. My daughter did play for you and Coach Lee at Palomar, so obviously there's a connection. But I want to talk about the junior college route, because I don't know that people really view that as a good avenue. I know a lot of times with this generation of kids and parents, they kind of have this D1 or even 4-year college or bust mentality. So speak on where you see the positives of the junior college route.
Well, I mean, like I said, it is. I don't think people really understand, what junior college is. I think there's more like a stigma down here in San Diego, more so. I think with social media, it's kind of, that's all we see is Division I or 4-year bust, and a lot of kids aren't ready. You know what I mean? And they don't really understand how competitive JC level is on the boys or girls side. Like I said, for us, I think every one of my friends played junior college. Damian Cephas, who's also an assistant coach with us at Palomar, played junior college out in Nebraska, and I'm going 4 years after that. Kwaku Maku, who's one of our directors of Coastal League, he ended up playing J. We all did. I think that a lot of it comes with the unknown. They don't know. When we were growing up, we used to go to games all the time. Whether it be San Diego State games, whether it be Palomar games, we used to go and watch. And we would go and watch basketball games. So we kind of understood what it was about. I don't think a lot of people now go out and watch games in general, but especially junior college games, they don't know any different. And then it becomes a perception thing where they're told their whole life it's Division I or bust, Division I or bust, Division I or bust. And in reality, it's very few that can make it there. If you look at even in the San Diego route on the girls side, there's very few per year that end up going to Division I route. And there, it's once you get there, you realize like, oh, okay, what did I, this is real deal. And so, like I said, it was the best thing for me. I needed it. When I was young, I probably thought I was going to, North Carolina. I thought I was going to Duke. You couldn't tell me, anything. I mean, still can't tell me anything, to be honest with you. But, you couldn't tell me I'm not going to North Carolina or Duke. And so, but when I got there, I realized, I struggled. There's a lot of things that I had to get better at. And those relationships I had at Palomar, I built at Palomar, they're still my best friends to this day. Those are the guys I still talk to this day. Whether they're here in California, San Diego, or in North Carolina, New York, wherever it may be, we still talk to this day. So
I think what's important too, and especially the program, something like Palomar or your national JCs, I think some kids think that they work hard, and we've talked about this before. Some kids think that they work hard or think that they want to work hard, and a lot of these parents could save themselves some money and travel if they would expose their kids to maybe that high-level JC. And what you'll realize is that they don't even want it as bad as they may think they want it. And, we've talked about it even like with some of the D3s, that the level that you guys are playing, where you guys have built your program, and then some of the more, especially on the boys side with these national JCs, some of that, well, a lot of that is better basketball than some of your D3s or even some of your lower level D2s. Speak on that.
100%. 100%. And you know what it is I think it's once again, like you piggyback on what you said, it's they don't know, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, let's say you're playing at a high school, no offense to any high schools, but that don't play at a high level, let's say, right? You think, you run an up back, right? You run a 16 at practice and you're a little tired that you're working hard, when in reality, that has nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? They don't really understand, like I know you talked about this before, they don't even understand what working hard is. I think they get a false sense of, and going back to here in San Diego, there's very few teams that travel out of the section, here in San Diego. And so we're whether it be, and even in travel as well, but I'll say in high school, just in high school, stick to that, a lot of times they're only playing teams locally. And so if you're doing decent against a local team that may not be great, you get a false sense of basically belief in yourself and how good you really are. But for the teams that do travel out of the area, like there's a handful, probably 7, 8 that consistently do it, maybe 5 to 7, I don't know. They see, You know what I mean? They see and they understand what the high level basketball is, and you know, it is it's eye opening for a lot. You know, for a lot of kids that when they first come to us, no matter how good they were in high school, their first day of practice, you know, it's eye opening for them.
So let's talk about Mission Hill. So we're coming on year 12, and for me, like I said, since I've been in San Diego, you've been in CIF Championship every year. How did you get to this point? So take me back to when you first got to Palomar, and maybe some of the early struggles that you may have had that people don't realize now that you're having all the success.
Okay, so I never coached girls before. I was a boys coach, and so what happened was I was the boys JV coach at Mission Hills. Yeah, we had a really good 2 seasons there. I was the head JV for 2 years. And I was a varsity assistant, and so kind of the way I went into it, I don't know how deep you want me to go, but I went all in. You know, we started a club program locally in my area called Coastal Elite. I actually got a start with a local club team called the Mustangs, which ended up turning into Coastal Elite. It's a long story, but anyway, got the head JV job at Mission Hills on the boys' side, and I got hooked. I fell in love with it, and I went all in. And so I think with a lot of these young coaches, what they don't understand is when you first start, you know, you're not in it to, all right, if I do this, do I make $100? So I was wherever I could go to learn and absorb, I was there. And so wherever my varsity coach was, which is Curtis Hoffmeister, who's the head coach at Mission Hills now, still on the boys' side, wherever he needed me, I went. I went to double practices. I did everything. And so I was just absorbing. And I was always a student of the game. But I always wanted to learn more and more and more. So for 1 year, I went over to San Marcos High School. And one of my best friends is Dante Carey, who's the head coach over at San Marcos. And there's 5 of us. We all made a pact that whoever got the first head varsity job, we're going to leave wherever we're at, and we're all going to go together. And so we went over to San Marcos. I was on the boys' side. I was the associate head boys coach for a year. Enjoyed my time there. And I got a call by the AD after that season, and he offered me the girls' job. Right? And now, mind you, I've never coached girls. I didn't watch girls basketball. I was never associated with it at all. So I told him no. I don't want to coach girls. I'm a boys coach. So he said, "Look, I have these other applicants. We want to have. I've been there, so I had a relationship with them. He's like, basically, we want to hire you for the job." And I said, "No, I don't want that job." He said, "Look, I'm going to call you tomorrow. And I want you to sleep on it and whatever, and then we'll have an answer tomorrow." So Ken Putnam was the AD that hired me, one of the best ADs ever, right? Anyway, called me back the next day. I slept on it. I started thinking about it. I said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to coach girls basketball for 2 years, build my resume, and I'm going to get a boys job." Like, that was it. I was like, I'm just going to use this as a pathway, right? So he called me next day. I said, "Yeah, I'll take the job." Took the job, introduced me. This is literally what happened. Introduces me to the team like on a Friday, I say, right? Meet the team. That Monday, we have like some kind of summer league, spring league game, I think it was. So I don't even know the girls. I go to the game, and we were the worst. Like like I can't even tell you how bad we were. I had one player that was, I think she was the best player in San Diego. She was a monster. We couldn't catch. We couldn't dribble. I was on the court. I've never seen it like it. And it was the worst thing. I was like, what did I do? I was about to just hand in my resignation right then and there. So that first year, and I just went all in. And, the season came out, and we had our ups and downs. But I started to love it. And I started to love it. I started to love coaching on the girls' side. And, we won our first playoff game in school history that first year. It was great. We had a great little run in the playoffs, and then we got knocked out. Well, I think the one issue that we had, and I think a lot of coaches, especially young coaches or anyone, you may experience it, or anyone may experience it. When I took the program over, the mentality wasn't really about winning. There was a lot of pride in it. It was more so an activity they did where I'm like, that's not the mentality we're going to have. If we're going to do it, we're going all in. I went all in. I expect you to go all in. And so we had to change the mentality of the program, how to work and so on. And second year, awful, like just awful. We started I want to say 4 freshmen and a sophomore or something like that. But I started to see the change in the mentality. And we started the girls were just asking me to work out extra. They were at practice busting their butt and doing everything they can. And I was hooked. And so a couple boys jobs opened that year. And, I was told, I was called up to the grapevine, to apply for a job here and there. And thought about it. And I was like, nah, dude, I love this. Like I'm all in. This is my team and I'm trying to build. So I started getting better and better and better. So third year got better. Fourth year had a really good. So it ended up, ever since then we've been pretty much rolling. But it was the first group I had. It was like the players like a Keisha Cox. Some people on their list may not have heard of these girls. Keisha Cox ended up playing for a couple years at Palomar with us, but she was the best. She's probably, her and Kayla Rook are the two best players I've coached at Mission Hills. It was Kayla Rook, Keisha Cox, Melissa Allen, Ashley Witherspoon, Amanda DeRui, all these girls that kind of changed the mentality of our program. And now it's to where it is now. And I love it. Like I coach boys in the club side, but I'd rather coach girls, to be honest with you, on the high school side.
So I touched on this before in my previous interview with Darren Curtis, and I think your story in terms of coaching girls is probably similar to a lot of us. It's the same story I had. I started with boys, never thought I'd coach girls, and then once you do it, you never look back. What would you say are the biggest differences? I know last week we touched on it. I think one of the biggest differences it's a negative and a positive. The negative is they don't watch, right? They don't watch basketball like boys do. But I think there is positives in that because they don't try to do some of the things that they see, watching that maybe giving them bad habits. So what other things do you think make maybe coaching girls more fun or easier or however you would describe it?
Okay, so I think the one thing that I noticed is when I first got the girls' job, I had all these sets and offenses and reads and stuff that I brought up from the boys' side, and we couldn't really do it, and I didn't really understand why. And kind of the time when you said they don't watch basketball like that. They don't play pickup generally. So one day I was talking to somebody. I don't remember. I think it was one of the dads that of a girl I coached, and he just said something that just hit home. It was like an aha moment. And he said, women are literal, right? Women are literal, right? So when you coach on the girls' side and the boys' side, because I didn't know that's what he was a softball coach. So with the boys, like I would say, all right, we're gonna do a dribble over. If it's we could look for the back door here. If not, we could talk about different things. And what happened was I was using the same terminology when I first got with the girls, and they would throw the back door no matter what every time because they thought that's what I wanted them to do. And because they said, Coach told me to look for the back door, so I'm going to throw it every time. And so I started to change a little bit where I treat them the same. Like I tell them all the time, you're not a boy or a girl, you're a basketball player, right? And so, or you're a hooper. So for me, I don't change, I don't think there's any difference in what I do. What I did have to work on is all right, you're basically wired to think literally everything that, and everything you do. Where I see, you coach your boys. You can't tell a 7th grade boy he shouldn't be playing in NBA playoffs right now because he thinks that I coach 8th grade boys now, and I have a couple right now that literally they literally the best player in the country, right? So they're with the boys, it's like, all right, you can look for that, you can get on them, With the girls, okay, now you explain to them, and I'll explain to them, okay, we're looking for this, and I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but that's kind of what, it was like an aha moment for me. It's worked for me. Like I said, when you come to my program, I got to tell them, I don't think there's necessarily a difference per se. I would say probably the girls do a better job. They pay attention. Boys' attention span is 3 seconds. 3 seconds tops, and then on the girls' side, they do a lot better job paying attention, focusing up. But I would say, there's no difference there except for the literal part is what I had to adjust to.
So you talked about the humble beginnings you had at Mission Hills. Was there a moment or a time or a game or a practice that you felt that you guys were turning the corner? Obviously, I'm sure I know how confident you are, but I'm sure you didn't see, 8-9 years ago, you didn't see this level of success coming. But was there a moment or a time where you felt like you guys were turning the corner?
Yeah, no, I definitely did. I did see this level of success coming. No,
of course you did. Of course you did.
Yeah. No. I think that for me, it was more so like the summer between my first year and second year when I saw that, we were having open gyms and we're doing conditioning things. And it was the mentality of just their want to get better, their want to be there. If I'm saying, no open gym Thursday, we don't have the gym, whatever, they're pissed off kind of, you know what I mean? And I started to see mentality change. And so, it's a culture that carries on, you know what I mean? So you go, once that clicked, and we weren't even that good the second year. Like I said, we still weren't skilled enough. We played very hard. We definitely played very hard. We were very tough, but we didn't have the skill level to, basically put the ball in the basket consistently. But I would say, it was between the summer of that first and second year. And then that second to third year was a huge jump where I was like, okay, it was more so the off season. I would say more so than the individual practice during the season.
So the first CIF championship, what division was it?
Division I.
So tell me how about, so that was that 13, 12?
Yeah, 13. Yeah.
So tell me about that first championship. What did that feel like? Was it a sense of accomplishment? Is it a sense of relief? What were you thinking after that first?
So what happened was they had the predetermined open division that year, right? So that's why Marlin won the title that year, because otherwise it would have been us. But what happened was we had to be Division I, and so we were. There's no like now they have it to where if you finish in the top 8 you can go to the open the rest for Division I. Well, back then we had to be Division I, and so it was kind of based on, if people don't know, it was based on your rating from the past 5 years. Like it was kind of like how at the time was, what was your cumulative rating, ranking I should say, for the past 5 years, and that's determined the division you're in. So we were Division I. We started off that season actually. I knew we were pretty good. Started that season like mediocre. We lost a couple games that we shouldn't have lost. And then it clicked. We got to league that year, and we were just rocking. And we started to do this 5-in, 5-out, to where we had a lot of depth. And we just, we press all game, and we do our run and jump. And we started to go 5-in, 5-out. And I started to realize, as soon as I would do that, that next 5 was so engaged, and we were clicking. And we just ran through league, and we ran through the playoffs. I mean, we were real dominant in the playoffs, and we never went to Division I. Went to the state playoffs that year. Had a good run in the state playoffs. I had a real connected team, a real tight knit team. And once again, those kids grew up in the program. You know what I mean? And so it was a lot. It was a good time. My dog was going crazy. It was great. Like I said, it was. I guess you say a sense of relief, because it was kind of like we've been building for this moment, and I knew we'd get there eventually. But I wanted it really bad for this group, because they were such hard workers and so focused. And it was I mean, to me, it was one of the best feelings I've ever had in coaching, as far as it was just, we did it, and I saw it on the girls' faces where they saw they did it, so.
Hearing you talk about it, I still kind of get the sense that there was almost like a feeling that you didn't accomplish the ultimate goal, because you felt like you were as good as, if not better than, some of those open teams. So then my next question would be, how did the next year feel when you were at open?
Oh, that was on, because I had the whole team back. So I graduated one from that first championship team, and she was there from the very beginning. So it was great that she got that title, and then I had everyone else back. And so it was one of those things, like I don't know, but when that year came in, I knew we were the best team, kind of thing, if that makes sense. And we just had extreme focus. And what I loved about it is, being that we weren't able to be the open division title or final or champions the year before, like the girls, their one-track mind was, we're going to win the open division championship this year. And so it was great, you know what I mean? And we ended up playing Mount Carmel. A good buddy of mine, Tim Jolette, was the coach. Great coach. That dude was the jump defense king. He gave me a lot of ideas on jump defense. And I don't do a lot, but when I do it, it's a lot of times credit to him. Beat them, handily in the championship game, and it was great. It was great. So.
No, I remember that championship game, because we were in Division I the day before.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, we really took our lumps early in the season. We played you guys, we played Mount Carmel early, and we just weren't ready. And like you said, by the end of the year, we felt like we were playing as well as anybody. And it's funny, we beat Mount Miguel, who was also a really good team, and I know talked to Robbie that they felt like they were playing as well as anybody either. So
neither one of you guys would beat us, though.
It was a lot of talent that way, but I definitely would have liked our chance. It'd
been nice. You would have given a good effort. It'd been nice, but
you will always have bragging rights, because, like I said, because of Taylor and that 4-point play, I'll never know if we could have got it done.
You guys were a great team. Now, you got a great team. You guys got screwed that year. You weren't allowed to be in the state playoffs. I know there was a big old controversy. Yeah, I remember that. That was when our system down here was out of whack.